The CEO was going to promote me, but the CFO emptied my account and made me disappear. What they call the American dream turned into a nightmare for me. While I was waiting for a promotion, I lost my job, my money, my dignity, everything, because someone emptied my accounts behind my back while I was on duty. But I kept quiet. I made a plan, and I came back. My name is Ethan Miles. I'm 42 years old. I work for a software company in Manhattan, the financial heart of New York City, a towering skyscraper of a city. I joined the company 15 years ago when my salary was close to minimum wage. When I started, everyone looked at me as an ordinary person. I was a customer representative. I had a life of saying, "How can I help you?" hundreds of times a day on the phone. But I didn't shut up. I learned coding at night, excelled in sales during the day, started learning every job, analyzing everyone's weaknesses and strengths. Over time, I became the most sought-after man among departments. Within 3 years, I became a team leader, then a product manager, then a senior project manager. Each time I was promoted, I disturbed someone, but that was the nature of the job, because I was quietly watching them go upstairs, and they were just trying to protect their seats. Helen, the CEO of the company, he was an intelligent, visionary, but also a detail-oriented leader. He loved me, because someone like me who fought on every front was worth gold to him. One day he had a special meeting. Behind closed doors, he said to me, "Ethan, I'm thinking of making you director of operations. But be careful, not everyone will want you to move up, especially Blake." At that moment, I felt a sense of unease. Blake Johnson, CFO of the company, a man who speaks well, wears expensive watches, and even when he smiles, it looks fake. But what really bothered me was something else. Some of Blake's financial reports looked more clean than they should have. So either he was doing a great job, or he was hiding it very skillfully. And if I became Chief Operating Officer, my next step was to activate the Board of Supervisors. And Blake knew that. When I left the office that day, I looked in the mirror for the last time. I said to myself, "Now the game really begins, Ethan. This isn't just a promotion fight. This is a fight for survival." Helen, the CEO, was waiting for board approval to formalize my promotion, but I knew it was only a matter of time, and so did Blake. After that day, things started to change in the office. Blake, who used to look me in the eye when he greeted me, now just bowed his head. He was constantly interrupting me in report meetings, shading my sentences by saying, "These are theoretical comments, not operational ones," but I didn't respond, because I knew some battles cannot be won immediately. You have to know how to wait. Then came the big project, a digital integration project they called Atlas Merger. The infrastructures of two giant technology companies were to be brought together in a single system, and Helen gave this project directly to me. She said, "Blake will follow the process financially. You're in charge of the technical side." It was a simple promise, but it was full of blood, because everything was going to be auditable in this project. And I started to see things. Some software purchase invoices, payments for outsourced consultants. They all seemed to be correct, but they were all a bit too round. I saw 3 separate files with a 1-minute time difference in the invoice dates. One invoice was for $10,000, another for $26,000 for the same service. But when I asked, Blake dismissed the whole thing as balancing the budget. Then one night, when I was working late at the company, I noticed a session left open in the system. It was Blake's account. As luck would have it, it was the computer of the system administrator at the company. Not out of curiosity, but out of instinct, I opened a folder. Folder name, Fallback EM. The documents I clicked on still give me the creeps. A fake email chain bearing my name, a document forging my signature, and an internal memo. It said, "Ethan Miles made $250,000 in outside purchases without budget approval. An internal audit report is requested." I was shocked. I knew right then and there, Blake was setting me up. and he was doing it during the mission, while I was focused on the project. So the war had already started. Before I knew it, Blake had already written the script for my destruction. The next morning, I received a call from Helen, the CEO. It was short and cold. "Ethan, we have an emergency. There's an investigation into the finance department, but your name is being mentioned. I'm going to ask you to take the day off." At that moment, my insides burned, but not a single muscle in my face moved, because I was no longer going to fight emotions. I was going to fight data. Blake had declared war on me, but he had picked the wrong man. Blake had fabricated evidence to get me out of the system, but there was something he didn't know. I'm not just a software developer. I'm also a former hacktivist who studied cybersecurity. My interest in hacking systems in high school had evolved into ethical hacking during my university years, so I could leave no trace. The next morning, I turned on my computer at home. The first thing I did not access the company network directly. Instead, I called an old contact, his name Marcus Flint, a former FBI digital forensics specialist. He now runs a private cyber detective agency in Manhattan. We spoke briefly. I just said this sentence: "Somebody wants to fire me, but there are some digital footprints in the system logs that don't belong to me." And he said to me, "I only find the guilty, Ethan. It's your job to prove your innocence." We started working with Marcus. Our first goal to analyze Blake's system activity, to create the fake email chains. Everything looked flawless. But one small detail was overlooked. IP logs. The emails that were supposedly from me were sent at 2:17 a.m., but the company servers only allowed C-level authorizations to log in at that time. In other words, only high-level officials like Blake could access the system during these hours. Even more shocking, at the second my email was supposedly sent, my home internet service provider was offline, so I wasn't physically connected to the internet at that time. But that wasn't enough. My plan was bigger. I needed to build a system that would expose Blake's financial fraud, the hidden invoices he wrote himself, and the internal black fund flows. With Marcus's help, we developed an encrypted data tracker connected to the company network. This software instantly copied every invoice entry and deletion attempt by Blake and backed it up on a shadow server. At the same time, we tracked the payments sent to external consultants through the blockchain analysis system. I kept quiet for a month. I didn't say anything to Helen. I just sent her a text once in a while. "Be patient. The truth will come out soon." And the moment came. Marcus texted me one afternoon. "I have a digital trail of the $1.8 million Blake transferred into his account. Are you ready?" And I just replied, "Be in the boardroom tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It's 8:55 in the morning. While the skyscrapers of New York were just waking up, I was in front of the boardroom on the 47th floor of the company, a USB stick in my hand, data so powerful it could save one career but destroy another. The door opened. CEO Helen, CFO Blake, the company's 2 legal advisors, and the head of internal audit were there. Everyone is serious, but Blake is as confident as ever. He looked me in the eye with a smile. "Ethan, I hear you took some time off. I hope you've cleared your head." I was silent. Helen spoke. "Ethan, the reason we are here is very serious. There are some allegations of financial irregularities against you. We will hear your defense." When he finished his sentence, I reached into my pocket. I took out the USB stick and inserted it into the laptop in front of them. This drive contains a backup of all financial transactions made on the company's systems in the last 90 days. In particular, who created the forged documents in my name and when they were created. And I continued. There's also a blockchain trace of a $1.8 million transfer Blake made to his personal account under the guise of a donation. And finally, the IP from which the fake emails were sent, which were sent at night with only C-level access. At that moment, there was silence in the room. Blake's face fell for the first time. As his eyes scanned the screen, I realized he was shaking. Then he whispered a sentence. It's impossible, but it wasn't impossible because I patiently followed his plan and I turned his every move into his own weapon. Helen raised her head. Her look was hard, her voice icy. Blake, this is a serious crime of corruption and forgery. Leave this room immediately. Our legal department will take appropriate action. Blake stood up and reached for his briefcase. But Helen held out her hand. Put that bag down. This no longer belongs to you. Minutes later, the security guards took him outside. I was still sitting in my seat. Helen turned to me, her eyes full but strong. Ethan, this company owes you a lot, and I am ready to repay that debt. The position of Director of Operations is waiting for you. And that's when I realized, sometimes justice doesn't come quickly, but when it comes like a storm. A revenge that comes quietly, patiently, brilliantly, and it ends like a clean victory.